Welcome to VPG's Virtual Water Cooler Chat podcast, where we share lessons and stories of women professionals to help empower other women and expand a greater circle of influence so we walk our journey with those who understand and appreciate us. Today, we'll chat with Sheena Yap Chan. Sheena is a keynote speaker, consultant, and author on the topic of building self-confidence, as well as the co-author of the internationally best-selling books Asian Women Who Boss Up and International Women of Color Who Boss Up. Her newest book, The Tao of Self-Confidence, is available for pre-order for its release in May of 2023. Sheena is also the founder and host of the award-winning podcast, The Tao of Self-Confidence, where she has interviewed over 800 women about their inner journey to self-confidence, including celebrities, 8-figure CEOs, and more. To date, The Tao of Self-Confidence has over 1 million downloads. Sheena has been featured on MindValley, Fox, ThriveGlobal, Manila Times, and was named one of Disrupt Magazine's top 10 self-confident/self-love coaches to follow.
Hello, Sheena. Thank you so much for coming on our show today. And I really want to, first of all, thank you for everything that you do to help promote and empower Asian women. So without further ado, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what makes you you?
Thank you so much, Ashley, for having me as a guest on your show today. It's such an honor to be here on this podcast to share a little bit about who I am. So for those of you who may not know me, my name is Sheena Yap Chan, and I was actually born in the Philippines and moved to Canada when I was 7, but I actually moved back when I was 13 and then came back again when I was 16. So everything really started with growing up in Canada. You know, when I saw people on TV, on magazines, on billboards, I never saw anybody that looked like me. There was no Asian role models to look up to, so I was always ashamed of being Asian. I wanted to have blonde hair and blue eyes and change my name to Heather to sound more Western. And it really wasn't until my 20s when I decided to dye my hair from blonde back to my original hair color is where I really embraced being Asian. And so in 2015, I wanted to create something that could elevate Asian women. And also at the same time, I was looking for a resource that really catered to Asian women's confidence. And lo and behold, there was none. So I decided to start something. And that's when I decided to start the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I interview Asian women about their journey to self-confidence. Since then, I've been able to interview over 700 Asian women on this topic of self-confidence, been able to have over 1.2 million downloads all over the world. And I also have an upcoming book under the same title that's coming up next May. And since then, I've been doing a lot of work to create a better representation of Asian women, because till this day, we're still seen by our negative stereotypes. You know, we're still seen as quiet and submissive when really Asian women are powerful and strong and brave. And so I do as much as I can to elevate our community, especially for Asian women. One of the things we've done is we've created a book called Asian Women Who Boss Up, where we highlight the stories of 18 Asian women who've been able to forge their own path, overcome obstacles, and thrive. And it's been such a huge blessing to create something like that. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me and what I do. I mean, for me, it's really important. Like I mentioned, it's really important to elevate Asian women, especially since the representation of Asian women in leadership roles is still very, very small, you know, in the US and Canada till today. And with the Stop Asian Hate movement, we still, you know, are targeted a lot more than men when it comes to Asian hate crimes. So this is why it's so important for us to speak up, to create representation so that we can encourage and inspire others to speak up, to be the person that they're meant to be. So that's a little bit about me.
I could not agree with you more. That was such a great answer. So thank you so much for giving us a little bit of background about what makes you you. Now, the second question that I have for you is, do you have any role models that help you become who you are today?
Thank you so much. That is such a great question. I have so many people that I look up to, you know, especially the women who I've interviewed on the podcast. I love hearing their stories, learning that we all go through things and we have the capability to make things happen, to change our circumstances, to have the confidence to be the women that we are today. Also, my mother and my grandmothers are women that I look up to. You know, when we moved to Canada, my mom didn't know how to cook, right? She had to figure it out. She had to learn how to cook for her 3 children, moving to Canada, not knowing what to do, not knowing what was going on, because back then in the Philippines, we had someone who cooked for us, or my grandmother would cook for us. So she was able to learn how to cook. Now she's one of my most favorite cooks in the world. And also my grandmothers, they've been through so much. And being an Asian woman in that time is not always easy. There's so many rules you have to live by. You just do what as you're told and never make any noise. And that was the life back then, right? No, we never had anything like you can speak up for yourself, or you could go out there and create a life of your own. That wasn't taught in that generation back then. So for them, being able to still put a smile on their face, keep moving forward, try to live each day to their fullest, that was something that always made me realize, how strong they are, how amazing they are. Because especially in Chinese culture, right, the men is always favored over the women. If a family had to choose between a son or a daughter to go to school, of course, the son would go to school instead of the daughter. So just the stories I've listened to and what they've been through, I look up to them and I realize, they are strong. They're just strong Asian women. And of course, women in the media, right? I love Sandra Oh, especially because she's Canadian. I love Michelle Yeoh, everything she does, I just watch. When it comes to movies, TV shows, Netflix shows, especially this year when she came out as when the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once came out. I mean, I love that movie. It was one of my most favorite movies in 2022. And also, it's the first time where an immigrant Asian woman was seen as the heroine in the movie, which is very not typical, because we're usually, that ordinary immigrant Asian woman is usually in the background, right? She's your auntie shopping at the Chinese grocery store, minding her own business. She's really just in and out to get things done. Right. But here today, for the first time, we're seen as the heroine. So I really loved that, and just being able to see such amazing characters. So I hope to see more of those. And yeah, those are some of the women that I've looked up to.
Okay. So what makes you decide to have a public profile and to have a podcast back in, I believe it's 2016, to help promote Asian women and help them tell their stories? Because sometimes I believe, well, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for you, but for me, it was really easy for me to just kind of blend in and not necessarily be visible, and so that I could just kind of agree with people. And at some point, I think it's not until after I started my business that I realized that I really have a lot more to say. And, because it's my own company, I have a little bit more autonomy. And I wonder, what is that turning point for you?
Yeah, that is such a great question. And I was like you too. I was always afraid to promote myself, put myself out there. I was afraid that people might laugh at me or think I'm crazy. Even when I started my podcast, I still had a lot of doubt and fear. I just thought maybe people wouldn't like my voice. They thought I was this crazy Asian girl just creating something. And so, like you, I had a lot of doubts. But I also realized that if I really wanted the representation that I craved for, it really had to start with myself, right? And then also having a great support system who push you to go out and do it. Because, I know we've been conditioned to never ask for help, but it's really asking for help that really it boosted my confidence, right? Because now I'm not the only one doing this, and it makes it faster, right? And so every time people ask me what my advice is, one of the main things I tell them is you need to ask for help, right? Don't be afraid to do it. It's not shameful. It's not a handout. It's going to help you, take your business or your confidence to the next level. So I realized that if I wanted something, I had to start with me, right? That's why I started the podcast. I really wanted to create this strong representation of Asian women. And so I just went out there and did it. Even though if I had no clue what I was doing, even if I was scared, I just went ahead and did it, right? Every time you step into something new, it's always scary, right? You're like, no, you're not sure what's going to happen. You don't know if anything will work properly, and then we have this notion that everything has to be perfect when it doesn't, right? You just go ahead, figure it out along the way. And because most people do that anyways, especially, you see men who are successful, like half the time they're just figuring it out. So, as women, we try to over prepare and then something still holds us back. when really, if we just learn to figure things out along the way, we can get so much more done, right? So yeah, for me, it was just really, I had to be the example. I had to lead by example.
I could not agree with you more on that. I think there's such a gender differences in terms of like how confidence is portrayed. And sometimes when we are more assertive, people not necessarily, I mean, we get played down by, having assertiveness. If we're being assertive, sometimes people may not like it and want us to stay in our lane. So, and I think also when you were saying that we have to ask for help, a lot of time we didn't, I mean, for me, I couldn't really ask for help before because it would mean that at least my mindset before was like, oh, that means that I don't know what I'm doing, But honestly, sometimes I really don't know what I'm doing. And so having the courage to ask for help is also a sign of self-confidence. I don't know what it is, so I'm going to go figure it out. And sometimes there will be other people that walk that path before me or before you. And, it just makes that journey so much easier and so much more pleasant knowing that someone else was actually there and they could lend a hand or give you advice. So I think that what you just said earlier was just so perfect. So thank you for sharing that. Next, if you must describe yourself in 3 words, and this is a random, I didn't choose 4. I just think that 3 is kind of cool. What would these words be and why?
3 words? Wow. That is a great question. I guess persistent, because no matter what happens, if I really want something to happen, I'll make it happen. Courageous. Lately, I've been learning to overcome my fears and just keep moving forward. And just overcoming my fears, and then being a go-getter. Making that first move. It's not always easy, but it's amazing the opportunities you can have when you just go out there and make the first move. And I know it's not always easy for women because we've been conditioned to always wait for someone to save us or wait for Prince Charming, but the only person that can save us is ourselves, right? So we have to go out there and make that first move, even if it's scary, even if you're afraid of rejection. When you focus on the people who do you connect with, or you focus on the people who do say yes, you'd be surprised like how much you can accomplish.
Absolutely. And I am so proud of you that when you announced that you became an international speaker, I was actually clapping my hands all the way from North to Virginia.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you offer some advice to other Asian women in leadership position, and basically based on your own experiences?
Thank you so much for that question. And every time I get this, I'm always like, what is the advice that I would give to women in leadership position roles? Well, some of the things that I've done in my own journey is really one of the biggest things, especially for Asian women, is really to learn to ask for help, right? We don't have to do this by ourselves. And asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's not a handout. It's actually, it's going to help you move faster, get to that leadership position, or be the leader that you're meant to be. Having the confidence is really important. Being able to walk side by side with people, right? Being able to read other people's leadership stories and how they were able to be that leader and model off of them. I mean, there's so many ways to build on leadership, right? Taking it one step at a time, I think, is the most important part because sometimes we try to make big leaps and then we don't hit that goal or that thing that we wanted to achieve, and then we feel bad about ourselves. So this is why taking it step by step is really a lot better for you, because it's those small daily actionable steps is what really yields the big results. And really everything else that I mentioned, the most important thing, which is really coming, which I will be talking in my upcoming book, is about, the traumas that we still carry, right? Especially in our culture, we not only carry our own traumas, but the traumas of our ancestors, of our history. And so we need to learn to unlock that, uncover it, so we can become our best self, right? Because you can't go out there and be the best leader if there's still something holding you back, right? I believe mindset is so important. So if you're not working on that, then you won't become the best leader that you're meant to be. And I know that's not always easy because our culture always tells us to never share what we're feeling, never share what we're going through. But we really need to talk about what we've been through, right? I mean, I talk about failing kindergarten at the age of 5 years old, right? And how that really traumatized me and made me think for the longest time I was a failure, when really I was just meant to do something different, right? Because I failed kindergarten for coloring outside the lines. So for me, it was, it wasn't that I was a failure. It was really that I was just always meant to color outside the lines. And this is why we need to learn to uncover our trauma. We need to learn to talk about it, bring this up so we can become our best self, especially in a leadership position. So I hope this helped you out a little bit.
So when is I think that is currently available for pre-order on Barnes & Noble, and maybe is it available on Amazon or what other avenues?
It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, all the major outlets that carry books. It's basically available. You can also go to my website, SheenaYapChan.com/the Tao of Self-Confidence. I'll give you a list of which countries it's currently available for pre-order. And yeah, I'm super excited and nervous at the same time because this is the first full book that I've written by myself. So yeah, super excited and nervous and everything else in between.
Well, I'm sure it'll be great because, this is just going to be the first of the many wonderful publications that you're going to have. And I'm actually going to pre-order. And if we wanted to look up, kind of listen to your podcast, it's going to be available. I think your own podcast is the Tao of Self-Confidence. And what other ways can our audience connect with you?
Yeah, that is a great question. So yeah, the Tao of Self-Confidence is on all major podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google Play. So you can just look that up and, binge listen to over 700 interviews. You can also check out my website, thetaoofselfconfidence.com. You can also connect with me on my own website, SheenaYapChan.com. I have a free report called 8 Ways to Boss Up Your Confidence in Life and Business. You can also pre-order the book. You can also buy a copy of Asian Women Who Boss Up. And if you forget anything that I said, you can also look up my name, Sheena Yap Chan, on the internet because I'm the only Sheena Yap Chan on the internet. So I'm easy to find.
And we connected at your initiative on LinkedIn. So that was one of the major positive things that happened. I guess it's such serendipity because without that initiation and my also acceptance on that, we wouldn't be here talking to each other today, and we would not have this 2023 collaboration. I'm so excited to start this with you. So thank you so much for all you do. And thank you so much for, taking the time to chat with us today. And I can't wait for this episode to come out.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such an honor, and I'm really grateful that we've become such good friends. Being able to connect and just chat, doing collaborations together. It's been such a huge blessing. So I just want to say that as well.
Thank you, Sheena.